Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Chisom. On this channel, I upload sewing tutorial videos and fashion related content. Today's tutorial will be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful dress that you can see right here on your screen. If you're interested in learning how to make it, keep on watching. Here is the fabric I'll be using. Is a crepe fabric and is exactly 3 yards, but I'll be making the drafting on the pattern paper because of the pattern on the fabric, so you'll be able to see it clearly. And this is elastic. The is it half-inch or quarter-inch elastic. This is what I use on the sleeve, and then I have a matching thread. So I'll take this aside, so continue drafting on the pattern paper. So first I rule the line at the top of the paper, which is also going to be the shoulder line, as I labeled it right there. Now I'm going to just mark the middle point of this paper in order to separate the back and front bodies. We'll be drafting the back and front on this pattern paper, and what we are going to be drafting now is the half, that's the half length. Yeah, so I'm going to rule from the top of the shoulder to the length of my half length, and I have made the mark right there. So what I'm marking now is the armhole line, also known as the chest line, and I'll mark it across the front and the back side. So the front is this side. I'll measure from the top of the shoulder to get my bust point and under bust line, and I'll mark it out. So I'm just going to label these lines: chest line, bust point, under bust, and waistline. From the center front here, I'll come in by half of my shoulder measurement plus half-inch. That's my shoulder divided by 2 plus half-inch allowance, which is 8 inches. I'll mark it on the shoulder line and also on the chest line here from the center, and then I'll connect it straight up. At the end of my shoulder line there, I'll go down by 1 inch to slant the shoulder, then come in by 3 inches from the center front, and then connect this point to this point. On the chest line here, I will impute my bust circumference divided by 4 plus my sewing allowance. You can add 1 inch or 1.5, depend on how much sewing allowance you want to add. On the armhole line, I will get the midpoint of it, go in by ½ inch, and then curve out my armhole like so. On the waistline, I will impute my bust span, that is my nipple to nipple divide by 2. I'll mark it also on the bust point line and then connect it straight. So on this line is where I'll be taking my dart. Now on the both side of this line I marked here, I will take ½ inch here and then ½ inch on the other side and connect to the bust point. So this is going off, that's why I'm cancelling it. Now on the waistline, I will impute my waist circumference divided by 4 from the center front, and then I'm going to replace this dart and also add my sewing allowance, the same allowance I added on the chest line. Then I will connect from the waist to the chest line. Next, I'll take my neck circumference. For the depth of the neck, I used 4 inches, and for the width, I used 4 inches as well. So it's 4 inches by 4 inches, and then I'm going to curve it out. Next, I'll be turning this bodice to armhole princess dart because my client wants me to pad it. If not, I would have left it with the basic dart. So I'll get the midpoint of the armhole, which is here. I'm going to connect from the bust point to that mid armhole using my curve ruler. You can see, making sure I get that bust shape. Now when I'm connecting from the bust point to the mid armhole, I'll make sure I extend the line. Okay, so just like so. Now I extended the line out of the armhole because I'll be going up by 1 inch on this line I extended out in order to recurve the armhole like so. And that's it for the front block. Now let's move to the back side. So for the back is going to be a quick one. I'll just mark my shoulder line and then connect straight, slant my shoulder by 1 inch, come in 3 inches from the center back line and connect the shoulder slant. I'll get the midpoint of the armhole line and then cover out my armhole, making sure it's not going to be as deep as the front armhole line. On the chest line, I will impute my bust divide by 4 plus allowance. On the waist, I will impute my waist divide by 4 plus allowance and then connect it. So this is all I need. Now I'll measure the shoulder line on the front and then mark the same thing on the back shoulder. On the waistline, I'll come in by 3 inches. Okay, depends on how open you want it to be. 3 inches is fine, bearing in mind that I'll be using 1 inch to stitch it at the side. So I'm just going to connect it like so. I first used the pencil to be sure it will give me the shape I want, and then went ahead to trace it out with the pen so you can see it clearly. So this is what we have. All these parts will be going off. I'll just go ahead and cut out the pattern, and that's it for the upper bodice. For the circle part, which is the 720 degrees peplum, I have folded my fabric into 8, which I'm going to be demonstrating with this paper how I folded it. You fold into 2 like this and fold again, which is 4 folds, and then I'll fold it again. This will give me 8 pieces on fold. Okay, so this is how I folded the fabric. To get the radius for 720 degrees peplum, you simply divide the circumference where you want to attach the peplum into 2. Now I want to be attaching it on the waistline. My client's waist is 32 inches. Now I'll add 2 inches for zipper allowance because it's going to be having zipper at the back, which will give me 34 inches. That 34 inches is what I will divide into 2, which will give me 17 inches. Now I will use the 17 inches to get the radius, which is 17 divided by 6.28. 17 inches divided by 6.28 plus the length of the peplum. The length of the peplum is 18 inches including hemming allowance. Now the radius is 2 point something. I approximated everything to 3 inches and I added it to the 18 inches, which is 21 inches. So I'm going to be marking 21 inches from the angle up here all round like I am doing right now. After marking on the bottom part, I'm going to mark the radius, which I used 3 inches for the radius. So I am marking it from the top angle down like so. So you can see the way I am curving it out now. So after I'm done, I'll go ahead and cut out the radius and the bottom part. So this is the circle. You can see how full it is. It's actually 2 pieces, so I'm going to slit the 2 open because I'll be joining it together. Now I am going to cut out the upper part. I actually cut the circle part first before cutting out the upper part. You know, when you're drafting or trying to make a dress, you cut the bigger part first and then use the pieces to, to cut the smaller part, which is what I did. So this is the front pieces that I am cutting, and I am simply adding my allowance on that part that will be stitched together. You know, I already added allowance on the side. Now this is the back, so I added allowance on the center of the back and then on the shoulder because I didn't add allowance on the pattern. So these are all the pieces right here. I also cut out lining pieces for all of them and went ahead to pad it, as you can see. So next I'm going to proceed to stitching the pieces together. So this is the back pieces. I'm trying to show you that they have lining pieces as well. So I will correspond the front part like so, match the side to the center, just like you can see me doing right now. I'm just pinning it in place to show you that this is how I'm going to stitch it. So I'll simply take it to the sewing machine and stitch right side to right side, joining the side to the center front. After stitching the main fabric, I'll stitch the lining pieces as well. So here is the front part. After stitching, you can see it's already coming out, and the lining piece as well. What I'll do next is to place the lining on the fabric and then stitch the neck area like so. So I'll simply pin it in place and then take it to my sewing machine to stitch. I have also cut the strip that I'll be using to make the loops and the lacing. Okay, so cut as long as you can. The width of the strip is 1.5 inches. So I'll simply take it to the sewing machine, fold into two and stitch from top to bottom, and then I'll turn it out on the right side. I'm done preparing the strap for the loops and lacing. Now I want to take the measurements, and after taking the measurements I realized that what I have was about 70 inches. This one will not be enough to lace it, so that means I'll be making another one that is longer. But for the loops that I'll be fixing on the back side, I'll cut about 8 pieces at 2.2 inches each. So I cut out one and I used it to measure the rest that I'll be cutting. I've cut out the loops. I'll simply get the two back pieces, so I'll place them accordingly. So for the first placement of the loops, I left 3 inches at the top of the shoulder line, or should I say neckline, and place the first one. Then the second loops I'm placing is 3.5 inches apart from the first one, and then I'll measure 3.5 inches from the second one to place the third one, just like I am doing right now. You can see I'm placing it and then holding down with pin. So I'll do the same thing for the fourth one, give 3.5 inches space and place it, and I'll do the same on the other parts following the same pattern. I'm done placing all the loops, and I'll place the lining piece on the back piece, and then I'll go ahead and stitch from the one end to the other end, and I'll be right back. I've turned the back pieces with the lining and I ironed it very well. This is the front piece. I also gave it a good press. The next thing is to place the back pieces on the front, match them at the side, then I'll go and stitch the shoulder. To stitch the shoulder, I'll open it up, making sure the lining part is matching the lining part and the fabric part is matching the fabric part, after which I'll stitch the sides. Here is the top. I have joined the front and back side by side. Now I'm going to attach the bottom part to the top part. For the skirt part, I added band of 1.5 inches width, just in case you want to add band. This is totally optional, but I think the band made mine so beautiful. It's made my client's own more beautiful because she really loved her dress. So I'm just marking the center of the top and the center of the skirt in order to match it. I'll just place the skirt on the top part just a tiny bit, and I'm going to top stitch. I'll top stitch at the edge of the band, so it will look as if the band was joined in between. I don't know if you understand what I am trying to explain. So I'm simply pinning it in place in order for it to stay put. So I'll go and top stitch from one end to the other, and I'll be back. Here are the sleeves. This is how I cut it like a normal sleeve. I just added extra 10 to 11 inches to my normal sleeve circumference, so that by the time I gather it, it will give me a little bit of puffiness. So I'll gather the top part to be able to fit into the armhole, and also hem the lower part of the sleeve so that I'll be able to pass the elastic in between. These are the sleeves after preparing it. You can see the puffiness right there. So I'll simply go ahead and attach the sleeve to the dress, and boom, here is the dress. You can see the elastic is going to make it easy for the arm to pass, or for it to pass through the arm. So this is the back side. You can tell that this dress is really beautiful. So this has brought us to the end of this video. I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. If you got value from this tutorial, kindly give this video a thumbs up if you're yet to, and if you're yet to subscribe, please subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Thank you. Bye.